Hey there riders, Moto Journo Kris here. Today I wanted to talk ergonomics on Yamaha's Super Tenere 1200. This is kind of the flagship adventure touring bike, I'd say, where the Tenere 700 is the very kind of enduro, hardcore off-road style machine. The Super Tenere is more the tourer, adventure tourer, two-up tourer. And certainly in the road tires, as I've got it fitted in today, it's probably more inclined towards the road. However, these are quite a popular machine as far as getting into the adventure riding. So not only do we need to talk about the seat to peg to bar ratio when you're sitting on the bike, we also need to talk about the standing kind of comfort, because if you're riding a lot of adventure riding and you're getting into the rougher conditions, standing up on the bike is going to be a pretty major consideration, I'd say. Now for a quick bit of context, I'm 180 centimeters, I've got a 32-inch inseam and I weigh about 70 kilos or so. So you will need to obviously make a bit of a comparison there if you're not the same as me. Jumping on the bike, I have got it on the center stand now. It does have a side stand as well. I'll give you a quick look at standing on the bike first, because it was a little bit difficult to get it onto the center stand here on this little bit of an incline in the gravel. However, everywhere else I've used the center stand, it's been exceptionally easy, and it's popped up onto that center stand easily. It's gotten off the center stand easily, so that's a nice boon. While the side stand is kind of the more, easy use when you're just putting the bike onto the stand, and you don't need it for some reason on the center stand. Obviously, the advantage of the center stand is that it has a lot more stability on that stand. It's rock solid on it, as you can see here. And certainly if you're a shorter rider, you might get it up onto the center stand, jump on board, and then kind of rock the bike off the stand as far as getting onto the bike, getting seated and everything like that. So as you can see here, everything just falls perfectly to hand. The peg to seat ratio is really good in that I can get my knees onto this part of the seat and I can grasp onto the seat there, which is really comfortable. I'm not grasping onto a hard bit of bodywork. The reach of the bars is really good as well, really natural. I'm not having to reach right down, I'm not having to crouch, I'm not feeling like I'm really stretched. And so as you can see here, it's really perfect for standing on the bike for someone of my proportions. Sitting down on the bike, again, a nice seat to peg ratio. It's not super spacey, but it's also not cramped at all. And you can get your weight through those pegs really easily, which is of course important. The bars, they're on risers, which actually are brought back towards the rider a little bit. They're very wide bars and they do have quite a bit of angle back on them as far as kind of, I guess, making it more comfortable. I've got some nice bend in my arms, very, very natural, easy to kind of keep your wrist below the throttle there. I will say adjustable levers on both sides, they're nice to see. The hydraulic clutch, as with most road bikes or every road bike I've ever tested with one, it's quite a heavy clutch and you most certainly would not want to be using that clutch an enormous amount. Adjustable windscreen on the front, manually adjustable with just the two adjusters, you tighten and loosen there. Simple LCD dual display dash. What else is there to mention? Handguards, good wind and rain protection, but not going to do a lot in a crash because they are just plastic. And when it comes to those mirrors, very good vision behind you. They're pretty no frills mirrors, but good bit of adjustability and they do the job, so no complaints there. LED indicators, which is nice to see. It actually looks like they may be traditional halogen headlights, but I will have to check that just based on the throw of light I was seeing doing some riding today. And it has got the more bug eye style headlights on this particular bike. Pillion pegs, as you can see here, both sets of pegs are actually rubber clad. It looks like you can take the rubber out of the rider pegs for more grip in the off-road conditions. There was a little bit of vibes through those bars that I will mention at quite high RPM. You've got a really generous pillion seat on the back, and obviously probably for some people who are looking for a two-up machine, that's a big consideration on something like the Super Tenere. As I said, obviously adventure tourer or two-up tourer, it's quite a sporty machine too, so it probably can be a sports tourer as well. So this is very much a do-it-all bike. Generous seat on the back there. It's nice and wide. It does taper back a little bit, but nice and wide. Plenty of foam there for comfort. You've got a fairly good reach for the pillion as well to those pegs. So again, really good for that. You've got grab rails for them, so they've got something to anchor onto apart from having to grab the rider, which for long trips is going to be good. And you've got this rack on the back, which is ready to take a top box. So again, that's going to be ideal for someone looking at doing big distances. While it looks like there is a pannier mounting system here as well, which is perhaps not totally ready to go on its own, but it looks like it wouldn't take too much as far as additional accessories to fit panniers to this bike. I'll just give you a quick look at reach to the ground for me. So keeping in mind, I do have my City Adventure 2 boots on, which have got a slightly larger sole and a deeper sole than on a regular sportier boot. So that does make it a little bit easier. And I'm on a little bit of an incline here. I have both feet down flat. So in that regard, quite an easy machine to jump onto for my height rider. And again, the primary figure you want to look at there is the 32-inch inseam as far as getting a foot down flat. I would say 2 feet down flat is ideal, but 1 foot down flat is normally more than enough on these machines because you're certainly probably not jumping on one of these as an inexperienced rider. You do feel the weight of the bike certainly in the conditions where you don't have any power because it's a relatively tall machine and it is somewhat top heavy as a result of that, but certainly nothing out of the ordinary for these style of machines. And once you're moving, very, very manageable. So I wouldn't concern myself too much about that if you're lacking a little bit of confidence. And overall, it's an easy bike to jump onto. I'd say the seating ergos for me at 180 centimeters, 32-inch inseam, 70 kilos, ideal. Good reach to those bars, very natural, nice and upright, great wind protection, a very nice kind of seat to peg ratio, which does allow me to get my weight through the pegs when I want to. It allows me to move around on the bike and I can grasp on under that kind of bulbous section of the tank very, very easily. Good room for a pillion. Good level of pillion comfort as well, obviously, as you can see here. And yeah, just generally a really inviting machine despite being one of these larger machines. Now I'll have to check the seat height because I have to say it feels a lot more manageable than I would have expected. Some of the big adventure bikes, the seat heights are quite extreme and the bikes feel exceptionally large, where I don't really feel like that is so much of the case here on the Super Tenere from Yamaha. And so you can see why these are a popular machine with a lot of riders. Anyway, if you've got any questions about the bike, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. As always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching, and you can support the channel on Patreon.